Hey Tommy, we live in interesting car buying times because today we're going to be talking about the top 14 cars that cost more used than if you buy them new. Can you believe that?
Yeah, really wild. So we're looking at a study by IC Cars, and IC Cars analyzed over 8.9 million new and slightly used cars to identify the 14 lightly used models with the highest priced above their new car equivalents, according to IC Cars. So we're going to talk about the 14 that are kind of breaking some molds here, and we're going to rank them from least to most over new. But let's talk a little bit about some of the big takeaways.
Yeah, so what are the big takeaways?
So the average lightly used car cost $3,701 less than its new version. So used cars are typically cheaper than new, which is an improvement over last year. And the overall average is a slightly used car is about 8.1% cheaper than its new counterpart.
Yeah, and the key word there is slightly used car. These are not, cars that have been returned off of lease after 3 years. These are just slightly used.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, we are seeing some improvements compared to 2022, where used cars were actually 8.5% above new cars. So the average is below now, which is good. But these 14 cars are breaking the trend and are still more used than their MSRP.
In other words, these 14 cars, you're better off to buy them new than you are to go and look for a used one. I think that's a good way of summing it up. So let's start with number 14.
Yeah, so once again, the average is negative 8.1%. At number 14, with an average of 0.1% positive, the Honda Accord, $16 difference used over new, with an used price of $30,404. Honda Accord, of course, a legendary sedan known for its longevity and its build quality, and now its design, and clearly still a big demand if the used ones are slightly more expensive than new.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of this list actually is, you'll see it, is Hondas and Toyotas. And I think that has to do with both those brands' reputation for reliability, because if you are buying a used car, you want to be sure that it's going to last you and it's not going to cost a lot to maintain. So what's number 13?
The Kia Rio. So kind of the lower end of the Kia lineup, actually more expensive used than new, at least a difference of $27 or 0.1%, average transaction of $20,135. Kia Rio is not a vehicle that you think of as being all that desirable in the new car landscape or the used car landscape, but slightly used or more expensive than new.
Now, at number 12 is a car where the owners that are trying to flip them have not gotten this message yet, because I spend way too much time on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and I'm seeing these cars still at like 10, 20, or even 30,000 over sticker. But when you do your research, the over sticker price should actually be $324, because it's the what?
The Chevrolet Corvette. So 0.4% more used than new, but only $324. Average transaction used of $84,827. Like you said, people are still asking the moon on these used Corvettes, but it appears that the actual transaction when the deal is done is a lot less than 10, 20K over sticker.
Yeah, I mean, the Chevy Corvette obviously is a halo car for Chevy. It's, got supercar looks, mid-engine performance. So I understand why it's been over sticker for the last 2 years ago. Is that 3 years ago? When did we go on the launch on that?
Yeah, it's been a hot sec now.
Yeah.
And it looks like the market's finally cooling down a little bit on slightly used Corvettes.
Probably not the Z06.
Probably not. No, good point. Now, number 11, the Honda Accord, once again, but this time the hybrid at 0.4% above, and that's going to be $152 or $34,704 is the transaction. So clearly we see a little bit more demand in the used market for the hybrid over the standard Accord.
Yeah, and number 10, Tommy, is another Honda, and that is a Honda Civic hatchback. And I just had that car a couple months ago, and I was really impressed by the little powertrain. I understand why these things are over sticker in some cases, but how much are the used ones more than the new ones?
Just 1%, or I should say a whopping 1%, and that averages out to $297 average transaction of $29,683.
This may have, I'm kind of trying to think of why this is. I understand the cars, but why are people doing that? I think some of it has to do with people want instant gratification.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, supply and demand, right? A lot of these cars are still in high supply. It's very hard to get them
High
new.
demand?
A lot of these cars are still in very high demand. It's very hard to get them new without paying, well over sticker. So that's where we're at.
All right, number 9. Once again, this is another one where on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, people are asking way too much over sticker for these. But what is that, Tommy?
Well, the Ford Bronco.
Yep.
So obviously the car came out in 2021. And we saw huge markups on them. We saw them going for, in some cases, nearly double market value used. But now it looks like used ones are 1.7% above new ones, or $901. So for all those folks asking 5, 10, 15K over MSRP on a used Bronco, clearly we're seeing that the market is disagreeing with those asking prices.
Yeah, but still, the average transaction price, at least according to these guys, is 55,372.
Yeah.
Which is
a lot of
way
money.
way above the average price of a new car, which is approaching 50,000. By the way, the overall average of these cars, used cars, is 41,812. In case you're
Which is
wondering,
also a lot of money.
which is also a lot of money. All right, number 8 is a Kia, Tommy.
Yeah, the Carnival, or do you say Carnival? But it's their minivan. Great car.
It's their minivan.
Yeah, it's not that mini, but it's a really good car. Interestingly enough, the Carnival's on this list, but the Telluride is not.
No, you missed my point there. It's like the minivan that doesn't pretend to be a minivan, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they're trying to get away from the stigma of the minivan by making it into a party.
It's interesting, though, that the Carnival's on this list and the Telluride and the Palisade are not on this list. But the Carnival, 2.2% difference used over new, or $916. That brings the used price up to $42,025.
Now, the next car is no surprise. It's very popular. I think Toyota has nailed it with this car in the right segment at the right time. In fact, it's the most popular. Not this version of it, but the car itself is the most popular car in America, and I think it sells well over, I don't want to say 400,000 units a year. It's the Toyota RAV4, but this is a hybrid.
Yeah, and this is not the first time you're going to see this car on the list, by the way. So RAV4 is still in high demand, and I'm not sure that supply has caught up with demand in the new market, because we're seeing average transaction price of 2.4% used over new, $953, coming in at $40,045. But as you mentioned, the RAV4 hybrid really combines a lot of usability, reliability, and fuel economy into one cohesive package. Huge demand for this car, and we're seeing that represented in slightly used versions.
Yeah, another way to look at this list is kind of the cars that the manufacturers got just right? Because people are willing to pay more for the used one than they are for the new one. And before we go down the list, let me just do a quick shout out to our podcast, Tommy.
Okay.
Over at TFL Talk, or Talking Trucks, both Andre, you on the Classics podcast, and myself do a really great podcast. So if you love talking about classics, trucks, or what's happening in the new car world, check out anywhere you get your podcast and look for TFL, and you'll see our 2 podcasts up there. They're becoming quite popular, and it gives us a chance to be a little bit more free form, a little bit longer format, and I really enjoy them. All right, let's keep going.
So number 6 is also a Toyota, but this time the Corolla Cross, which is their new small crossover. 2.9% difference used over new, $853. Corolla Cross, they just came out with the hybrid one, which I just drove just last week, actually. But it's, once again, a small, reliable, comfortable-ish, people mover, which has got all-wheel drive as optional. So it's a really, really good car, and that's why I think it's on this list. Very high in demand.
And that video is where, Tommy?
It's going to be over at TFL Car, so it's up there live if you want to see my review of the Corolla Cross hybrid.
alltfl.com.
Now, the 5th spot is also filled by a Toyota, but this time the RAV4 Prime. So we already saw the hybrid on this list. Now we're talking the plug-in hybrid. 3.5% different used over new. So we're really seeing some big jumps now. That's a difference of $1,700, and the used price, $51,298. 51 grand for a RAV4.
Yeah, that thing really nails a sweet spot for people who like saving on fuel, but who don't want to jump in the deep end with full electrification. Because I believe it gets like 40 miles of range on the electric battery, and so it's it's perfect if you want to go to work and come back, plug it into home, or if you need a road trip, you always have the motor and the electric engine to get you across country without ever having to charge. So I think they did really well with that car. Popular segment, popular car, hard to get. Makes sense why it's over sticker as a used car.
For sure. Yeah, great car. I just wish that they'd build more of them. I know Toyota was really keeping production low initially on the RAV4 Prime. They just need to start cranking them out. So number 4 spot, another Toyota, this time the Sienna. 3.7% difference used over new. That's $1,800. And a used price on a Sienna, almost $51,000 for a Toyota minivan. What is happening in the market?
Yeah, I think people movers, 2023 is the year of the people mover, be it the big three-row SUVs or the smaller three-row crossovers or the minivans. I think people are just really appreciating practicality at this point, at least in their car buying experience. So we're seeing a lot of demand for these, very comfortable, very large people movers.
Okay, we're moving on to top three here.
Yeah, let's go. Drum roll.
3 spot Mercedes-Benz G-Class, the G-Wagon, 4.6% different used over new. That's $8,633 or 196 grand in the used market. G-Wagons have been super slow to roll off the line, especially in a market where we had a huge demand. So we were seeing huge markups on them, even used. But clearly that's settling down a little bit. It does still, however, have the highest dollar difference used over new on the list of nearly $9,000.
Can I just do a shout out, because the G-Wagon is kind of one of my dream cars, so I follow it very closely. And as you know, I think 3 years ago or 4 years, maybe 5 years ago, a new generation came out. This price increase for all of you G-Wagon owners out there does not include the early ones that came to America like in 2000 and what was the first year? 2006, 7, something like that? Two? Yeah. Those things, people are seeing these incredible numbers on the new ones, and they're asking the same things on those old ones. And believe me, you're going to get upside down in a G-Wagon from the early 2000s very quickly. So if somebody's asking like $35,000, $40,000, just plan on spending that on getting it fixed. So for all you sellers out there, the old ones, they don't necessarily, meet or exceed this trend.
Okay, number 2. The Toyota Corolla Hybrid, one of my favorite fuel-efficient people movers. The percent difference used over new, nearly 8%, 7.9. That's a price difference of $2,000, and the price used is nearly 28 grand, 27,809. Corolla Hybrid, now you can get an all-wheel drive, and this is one of my all-time favorite affordable cars on the market because it provides so much fuel efficiency, well over 40 mpg, now with all-wheel drive, and the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 technology. So it offers a lot of value, and people are recognizing that because the used price is 8% above new.
You know which Corolla all-wheel drive I'm jonesing for?
Yeah, probably the GR.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not on the list. I don't think there's enough data on those yet.
That's the one that I want. All right, and number 1, Tommy, unsurprisingly, this car has kind of become the poster child for getting it just right in a segment that had been long abandoned.
Yeah, the Ford Maverick. So more of a little truck thing, actually, but it's the smallest Ford pickup, a 12.3% different used over new. That's a dollar amount of $4,038, and the average used price, 36 grand, which is insane for a truck that Ford famously launched at under 20K.
You could buy like 7 of those for one G-Wagon.
And well, yeah. But the Maverick, right? I mean, crazy that it's been out for quite some time now, and we're still seeing a 12.3% different used over new. Ford has been, quietly raising the price on it, which certainly is bolstering the used market a little bit. But that is nuts. $4,000 used over new.
I have a bone to pick with the Maverick.
Okay.
You know what that is?
What's that?
Living here in Colorado, you can guess it.
What is that then?
Once again, Ford is forcing buyers to either choose the hybrid or the all-wheel drive. You can't get them together. So why not Ford make a hybrid all-wheel drive Maverick for all of us who value both fuel economy and all-wheel drive traction because we live in snow states? I never understood that. Same thing with the Santa Cruz, right? There's no hybrid in that one.
Yeah.
So you're forced to, either pay at the pump and, not get stuck, or not pay at the pump and get stuck. It's a little baffling. You can get the Escape in a hybrid all-wheel drive, which is the same chassis. Please, Ford, build it in the Maverick. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has that on their bucket list.
So I do want to give a quick shout out to the top 5 cars, which are the cheapest slightly used over new.
All right.
So once again, the industry average, negative 8.1%. Number 5, the Nissan Titan lightly used is 23.9% cheaper than new. The Audi A4 lightly used, 24.3% cheaper than new. The C-Class Mercedes-Benz slightly used, 24.6% cheaper than new. Number 2, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 26.9% cheaper than new. And number 1, the slightly used car with the most amount of depreciation, the Audi e-tron, a whopping 27.8% used over new. That's $22,000 less than new, and the used car price on that $59,000.
So this list is probably indicative of cars that people have bought and potentially have not been happy with. And there's some other cars on here that I want to point out. Number 16 is interesting. It's the Ford Mustang Mach-E.
Yeah, it's down 21%.
Yeah, the other one that is very interesting, I think, is another electric car, and that is, I just lost it. Where was it?
ID4.
Yeah, there you go, ID4.
Now down 20%. Also, interestingly enough, the only two trucks on this list of the top 20 are the Titan and the Silverado 1500 Limited, down 23%.
Yeah, the Titan probably sells like ice cream in Nashville, but in the rest of the country, not so much. There's a Jeep on this list. You know, I'm a big fan of Jeep, the Jeep Compass.
Yep, Jeep Compass is down there. The Rogue Sport, BMW 2 Series.
5 Series, 7 Series. There's 3 BMWs on
Yeah.
here. There's a bunch of Infinities as well. The Q50. And the QX50. And of course, the one other I would highlight is a Porsche, Tommy.
Yeah, the Macan actually.
That's
Apparently
interesting, yeah.
doesn't hold its value very well in the slightly used market. But guys, let us know what you think of this list. We had a really fun time making this one.
Yeah, and thank you to IC Cars.
Well, we didn't make it. IC Cars made it, but we had a fun time presenting it.
I was just about to go there. Thank you to IC Cars, and thank you guys for watching. Remember, go to alltfl.com if you want to see the latest. We got a busy week this week, right? Andre was in Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
Not Detroit, in New York for the New York Auto Show. So the new electric Ram, he has a really deep dive on that. And we, of course, came back from the Easter Jeep Safari. So if you want to see the new Wrangler, that's also up there, as well as all the concept Jeeps for all you Jeepers.
Yep, that's right, guys. And we'll see you in the next video.
Ciao.